This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on! Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast, episode number 85. Doing a wrap-up with a couple of the gentlemen that went to the Nova Expo this past weekend. Great pictures. Looked like a lot of deals were done and lots of fun. Matt Megonnell and Dan Day joining us today, of course, along with Wade. Justin is off doing something fun. Paul is watching the San Jose Sharks play hockey and not worry about having to buy tickets to the playoffs. So we'll give him some more crap next week about all that. And of course, as always, we need to thank Mitch for the Drink Your Face Off line of barware and clothing. Reach out to him. He's continuing to work on some new designs with the goalie mask side of things and stuff. And it's the coloring and some other stuff is really cool. So check that out. The bourbon or whiskey of the week is Bain's Cape Mountain Whiskey. It's actually made in South Africa, but you can get a lot of different stores, at least in my area. Was not hard to find, but it is actually really good stuff. I didn't think I'd like it. In fact, it makes a really good old fashioned. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Wade, I actually meant to message you earlier because I was thinking about you while I was at work, drinking the Blackberry Dr. Pepper. If you have not had that, holy crap, that is really good.
Yeah, I like to stick to the original.
I know the 25 flavors or whatever it is, but Blackberry 23 is good. If it is not too sweet, it has a nice flavor. So if you've not tried it, please do.
I'm glad to hear you were thinking about me.
It's all the time anymore. Before we get into the big stuff, of course, we need to, the clock is running quick. Next week is April, and we're starting to see the early games or the for leading up to the Frozen Four, which means the Frozen Four Expo.
Yeah, it's gonna be the weekend of the Frozen Four here in St. Louis. It'll be a fun one. It's gonna be a little smaller than obviously the big one, but always gonna be a fun little get together, and we'll report back on that after it occurs.
Yep. Saturday, April 12th is the Frozen Four. Thursday, April 10th is the hockey game leading up to the Frozen Four. So decide who the last ones are in there. A lot of people could be getting in on Friday the 11th. Wishing you and Dan could make it out for that, but I know with you guys just going the other one, that's a little harder too.
Yeah,
Dan made when the Frozen Four was in Chicago, made that one.
Yeah. But I went to Wolves games. I didn't go to the Frozen Four.
I would love to go out, especially if one of the two teams that I'm rooting for makes it. But go Providence, go Boston University.
There you go.
Hey, you got chances. Going around the league, the auction wise is pretty low right now. NHL auctions had nothing of importance. Meigray auctions, they do have they close in just a few days. The ECHL, and actually they'll close tonight by the time you hear this doesn't matter. Their helmets, the Columbus Blue Jackets Stadium Series jersey and gloves, practice jerseys and gloves, close April the 1st. They also have the Columbus Blue Jackets Stadium Series stick and pants auction, which closes April the 10th. Boston, all their stuff closed. We had talked about that little last week. Some of the closed prices, the two top ones, I bet you guys can guess who that player was. Brad Marchand at $5,600 for the white and 5567. I'm sorry, for the Centennial style, $5,600, and for the standard away, $5,567. Pasternak, his two were the next two top, and then the and I don't get goal pucks I don't know for what some of them sell for. I don't get it when I can actually buy a jersey or several to wear it. But the David Pasternak goal puck versus the Canadians on December the 1st sold for $3,550.
Wow.
The next lowest thing that sold in the auction after that was a Jeremy Swayman playoff 23-24 Centennial style playoff jersey for $29.51. Gee, which one of those two, if I had to spend money on, which would I want? The big jersey or the tiny little puck?
Tiny puck, given what you just said.
The other ones, there's two McAvoys and a Coyle, and maybe there's specifics. This is a Centennial game too, so that a little part of it. But 27.75, 25.75, and 25.50, and then the next down after that is a Swayman away, 24.25 that sold at 2,500. Another Centennial Charlie Coyle puck that sold at 24, and then it drops down all the way to 1975 for Laurie. Was the next away Mason Laurie playoff set for 1975. I cannot believe that those Centennial pucks sold for that much over season worn, either last year of Adidas or this year Fanatics season worn jerseys. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, the Boston collectors up there.
They got way more money than in sometimes sense,
Well,
maybe.
probably.
And if I offended any Boston fans, well, it's Boston, so whatever.
They just probably wanted their Centennial stuff,
Right. So we talked about Wade's Expo coming up, and we hammer people going to expos, and you guys did. You went to Nova. I mean, really one of the I guess it's one of the first ones. Is that, if I'm thinking that right? I think it's the longest running, if I remember correctly.
I think next year's year 20. This was number 19. I believe so.
That is awesome. So I'll kind of give you guys the floor a little bit and just kind of give us the rundown of your weekend and all the fun stuff and who you got to hang out with and all that kind of stuff. I'll let you guys kind of run the show.
All right. That's cool. Dan and I started out, we like to plan like a destination event with the expo. We didn't want to just go for the expo. And
I thought you were going to say destination wedding for a second.
Yeah, no. No. We saw some interesting stuff, but no. And I think to make it like the bang for your buck, we plan on going to a Devils game. We always try to look for a game to incorporate into maybe Nova or whatnot. If there's no game, it doesn't matter. Or maybe it's a good place to eat. The more you can incorporate in, I think that's what makes the expo or the get together what it is. It's the jerseys. Yes, it's seeing stuff that you don't normally see, but it's that getting together. It's busting chops and joking around, sharing information, and getting excited about something with somebody that you enjoy hanging out with or with fellow collectors. So Dan and I plan to go to a Devils game, and I was like, hey, you've never gone to Meigray. So we decided to ask David Mizell and Meigray if we could come in on Thursday at like lunchtime and meet up there, and I could go with Dan and he could see the warehouse for the first time. And for those of you that have never done it, it is something to see, and you don't want to miss out on it because it is both sensory overload and just an incredible feeling of like, it's like I'm home, because you get to see so many different jerseys, so many different things you wouldn't see. And we were there and they had told us, I mean, I think David Mizell had posted about Spike Lee being there.
Yeah, I saw that today. That's insane.
It was really cool because he told us about that, and congratulations to David Mizell. He I'm not sure what his regiment was, but he lost a tremendous amount of weight and looked really good. And kudos to him for doing that and sticking with it. But Dan and I drove out there. I was supposed to meet poor Dan at like right around lunchtime, and first of all, Dan thought he left like real early in the morning. He was anxious to get there, weren't you, Dan?
Well, I had a 6-hour drive. So
I only had 2 hours, but neither here nor there. So there was a little miscommunication on our parts of like what time we're going to meet up. And anyway, I'm on my way there, and I get pulled over. And
Uh-oh.
I'm thinking, this isn't good. You start out the day, you're trying to have a good time and hang out, and officer comes over and says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I'm not going to self-incriminate. I have a Pennsylvania plate. I'm easy pickings. And I said,
You
"Oh."
don't fire back with because you were bored. That usually they
I
don't
said, "Is it
appreciate
because
that.
I was friends with Wade Hampton?" And it's like, "No, no." But he says, "I clocked your Honda Pilot or whatever vehicle he said going this fast." And I said, "I'm not driving a Honda Pilot. I got a Ford Explorer." And he like takes 2 steps back and he goes, "Huh, you're not." He goes, "Carry on." And I was like, "This is my lucky day."
Oh my!
So I
So you had the complete wrong vehicle.
the wrong vehicle and everything. I don't know if that was like, a ploy to like, check out my vehicle, if he thought I was carrying game worn jerseys that were legally stolen or whatnot. But anyway, I get there and we're hanging out. And another cool thing about going to Meigray, and this all leads to the expo, is we want to maximize the time that we have there. So Dan and I had picked out some jerseys that we were interested in. We said, "Hey, let's go in and look at them, see if we like them. Maybe we can make an offer or do a deal." So we made offers. They were both consignment jerseys. Um, and honestly, Dan and I left and we were both like, they're not going to accept those offers. Both jerseys showed up at the expo and were ours for the offer price. So if you guys are interested in ever going and going and looking at the jerseys and stuff, I highly recommend you doing it. Make an offer, or if you want, if it's something that's in stock, it's just a tremendous opportunity. But after we were done at the expo, I told Dan of this kind of like dive bar. How would you describe it, Dan?
I call a hole in the wall.
Hole in the wall place. It's called 30 Burger.
Well, Dan,
And
you're military. You should be able to sniff those
Oh,
places out like nobody's business.
yeah, I've been in some bad places. But yeah, we went down the street to this place called 30 Burgers. And you drive right by it if you weren't looking for it. You would fly right by this place. So it was good though. I mean, it was a good burger.
good burgers, wings, beer. Anyway, we did, after that we decided to traverse over to get our hotel. Then we went down to the Devils game, and Dan had got these amazing tickets. Talk about the tickets, Dan.
We found the season ticket holder. He had seats in the corner right by the Devil's Tunnel. And there were 2 rows from the glass, and literally when the Devils walked by, you could reach out and touch them. That's how close we were.
Wow.
So, we of course we had pre-ordered jerseys from Meigray, so we're watching the jerseys come out of the tunnel. Well, they also included the Prudential Lounge, which we found out later on.
Uh-oh.
So we got to go to the Prudential Lounge, and we make our way to the Prudential Lounge. They got food and beer and stuff, and you're in this private bathroom and all this stuff. Well, after the first intermission and after the second intermission, you get to go down the tunnel that the Devils go out. After the Devils leave and get in the locker room, you can go down the tunnel, right where they're at. So we got to go down that tunnel to the Prudential Lounge and then back through the tunnel like the Devils. The Devils go down and they turn to the right, so you can't go that way. There's a guy there telling you can't take pictures and stuff, which Matt got caught twice trying to take pictures.
I'm not a fast
But
learner.
of course you did.
Of course I did.
But you can see, like when we walked by, the first period we saw Nico doing an interview, and the second period was who were doing the second? Someone doing the second. Another player did the second period interview. Was it?
Oh, I knew who it was.
Hula.
Second period, Halla, it might have been, and then I thought I saw Paul Cotter sitting there. Of course, I wanted to get a picture of that jersey for specific reasons. But anyway, when we first got there, the game hadn't started, so we're sitting down in the lounge, and like we had just eaten like 30 Burger, like I don't know, 2 hours, an hour and a half.
Something
It
like
didn't
that.
really matter, but they had roast beef, and like Dan and I are like, well, we're gonna find room to eat this stuff.
Now, did you guys know those were all-inclusive tickets when you got them?
Yeah, the guy told me he had told me about it, and I'm like, okay. And you kind of get there, and it's not like, I mean, there is an entrance to get in that way, but we went a different way. So we finally had somebody tell us to go down. We went down the stairs and made it down there, and then we kept saying, hey, don't we go through this end? So some lady, they showed us around, but you kind of pick up what's going on. It's a lounge, and they had TVs going and everything like that. So yeah, they had some. It wasn't just chicken fingers and hot dogs down. That's for sure.
It
Oh
was
yeah,
prime rib, mashed potatoes,
when I've
and
done that with the Blues games, it's like that. Is it's open bar and
Yeah, I don't
it
know
was
what the bar.
fantastic.
somewhere. Yeah, it's sliced meats and it's top end everything.
Yeah.
And I remember joking with Dan, like look at all these like jerseys, and it's funny how time has changed because it didn't seem like that long ago that you'd see an Arnott jersey or Jason Allison. Wait, I guess that's what am I saying? Jason Allison, Jason Arnott, Eliash, Niedermeyer, Stevens. But it's the new wave of players. And I just casually look over Dan's shoulder and I go, wow, that's a cool patch. That's a 2000 Stanley Cup patch on that jacket. I say, Dan, look at that cool patch on the jacket. And Dan just is like, eating whatever he's eating and turns around and goes, holy shit, we know that guy. He's a player. And he goes, he played for the Devils and the Flames. And I was like,
He played for the Pens.
oh, the Pens. I thought you said the Flames. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I channeled my inner Will Ferrell during that, what was it, Old School, where he's in the debate and he pulls out that amazing debate. And I was like, Christoph Oliwa. And it sure enough was Christoph Oliwa. And Dan's like, we got to get a picture. Got to get a picture with this guy. So we walked over and there's one other guy that's with him. And he's wearing a game-worn jersey of Oliwa. And I'm like checking it out and we're waiting our turn. And we finally go, Mr. Oliwa, can we get a picture? And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. Come on in here. And we each get a picture with him. And the guy that's with him is talking to somebody else. And we think, okay, we got our picture. We're done. Christoph Oliwa starts talking to us like we were his buddies. He goes, what do you guys think of the new NHL? Almost unwatchable. And he's got like a little bit of a Polish accent.
Yeah.
And he goes, bunch of pussies skating around out there. And I'm Dan like, well, we're obviously at the game, so we're still fans.
Yeah.
So I was laughing and we were joking. He goes, I called Lou, meaning Lou Lamoriello. He goes, I see that Matt Rempe running around out there. I told Lou, sign me to one game. I'll fix him. I'll take care of that problem. And it was amazing that Christoph Oliwa was having this discussion with two random guys in this bar, and none of the other people there knew who he was.
Or didn't care.
It's not like Matt Damon walking around down there, but it's if you're a Devils fan, you got to know who people are.
Yeah.
But
now the follow-up question though here is, you go then talk to the guy wearing the game-worn jersey?
No, he had left and went and grabbed it. So when he walked away, that's when we stepped in to get the picture and talked to him. He came back with his friend. Matt and I thanked him for his time. We were just a couple of minutes. We thanked him for his time, shook his hand, and appreciated it. And but that 3 or 4 minutes seemed like
forever.
It did, and he was just talking like we were just sitting in the bar. And the other guy came back with somebody to introduce him, and he kind of stepped in the way. We're like, whatever, dude. So we just walked away. But yeah, he had a gamer. We were let the wear, and we were checking it out, going, that's a gamer, and check out the arms and stuff. And he's probably some high roller. And we just like whatever, and we walked away. Whatever. So we went and found our seats and everything. So
before we found our seats, I think we went to the bathroom.
No, that was after the first intermission.
Oh, that was after the first intermission.
So we go after the first intermission. We have to walk down, and we go through the tunnel we get away, and we're walking over there, and we get in. And we're like, okay, let's go to the bathroom, right? So we're sitting there going to the bathroom, and I get done, and I turn, and I almost run right into Oliwa. I almost ran his ass over. Like he was right behind me.
We didn't almost pee on him or something.
No, he steps into my stall where I was at, and I go to the sink to wash my hands. I look over, and he's right next to Matt, pissing. And Matt's just like, also Matt goes, he looked at me like, and Matt like couldn't stay, he's right next to him.
I was like, take a picture of us pissing. Dan wouldn't do it, but
yeah, so
that's probably best.
Yeah, about best. We ran into him again there. We didn't say nothing in the bathroom, but just kind of funny. I almost ran into him again. He's still a big man, So that was kind of like the funny thing, running into him twice, really. So
yeah, then we were, with Meigray, that cool program they have where you can place a pre-order and kind of like watch your jersey. If you've never done it and never gone to a game, It's such a rewarding and fun thing. Dan and I are there, and he's like grabbing my shirt. Look at the fucking wear on that jersey. You see that? There's a repair there. And I'm like, that's my jersey too. And I wanted to stand up and like pop my collar and go, that's my jersey. That's my jersey out there. But no one would have really cared. But
No.
it was
So
it was
you're
a lot
so
of
what you're
fun.
saying is you're both in on set two Devils jerseys.
Yeah, we both have them pre-made. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
were watching those play, and as they're coming in the tunnel, just taking pictures, and then, of course in the corner there's a face-off circle right there, so they're right in front of you. Uh, they when they score, whether they do, they're right there. So I mean, the glass is kind of crappy because it's got puck marks and
Oh,
stuff on
sure.
it, but still, you get to watch your jersey in action up close.
Do you know when they started? Are they in set two? I'm
Yeah,
assuming they
they're
are.
in set.
When did they start their set two?
Middle of January.
Okay, so it sounds like about when the Blues did.
Yeah.
And seeing decent wear on most of those guys' jerseys.
Some were surprising. Nico Hershiser was surprising. We both were like, could not believe the amount of repairs that guy had. Like he probably had 6 on each arm because we saw him coming out and coming in,
Mhm.
and I couldn't believe that guy had 6 repairs on his arms. I was shocked. That's the one I was shocked me. I didn't think he was that type of player in the corner and stuff. Some other ones were kind of surprising, but that they didn't really have wear. There were some decent wears, like different spots and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we were right there. I mean,
And were they playing the Rangers that night or playing somebody else?
Flames,
Okay.
playing the Flames.
You got to check out their whites too to see what
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of they had.
Oh
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
we looked.
Yeah, we were looking. We were watching a different game than a lot of people. I mean, we were watching the game, but we were definitely doing some different stuff, and that's what I think what Matt was saying is when you're a jersey collector, you're at a game, it's a different game, I think, when you're there and you're like, I've either pre-ordered a jersey or I'm interested in a jersey. So you're marking down play, you're taking notes on your phone. I like this one, this. You're listing a few players off because you don't know what's going to be available and everything, but it's a different game. The guys next to us were season ticket holders. So Matt struck up a conversation with them, and they were talking about the game, and they talked about the guy that we bought the tickets from and everything. And I think we had 2 ladies in front of us that were, I think, that maybe their first game, and we're like, you need to beat it. And they were tapping the glass, like, you need to hit that glass, man. So I mean, everybody around us was pretty cool, but everybody, of course, they're all Devils fans. It's just a different way of watching. I think jersey collectors, you're there at the game, you're watching the game, you're there for the team, your team, whatever you're there for. But if you're buying a jersey, I think it's a whole different set of experience. You're literally looking for that jersey. You're rooting for that repair. You're rooting for that fight. You're rooting for something to happen in your jersey. Whether it's a goal, an assist, a fight. That's what you're rooting for. Especially if you pre-order.
And especially where you're sitting because you're on the glass. You've got the front row view for us guys that have the cheap seats up there. And again, Wade and I have to wait for the Blues auctions for this stuff. So not like Meigray to pre-order, but I get that. It's down there. Yeah, you can really be looking for the wear. Up high. Yeah, you're hoping to see the fight, the goal, the whatever.
Yeah.
But with you guys be able to recon the wear and plan, you know what? I pre-ordered that one, but I'd also really like to have this other one.
We did that too, and we're like, damn, that one's gone. we did that one too, but it's a program that Meigray offers. And you got to be on top of, you got to be ready to go and then plan your game. And I mean, the Flames had a great comeback win, but that's how we started our weekend off was, that game. Enjoyed a good game. Flames came back. I mean, I know the Devil fans were upset about that. Rightfully so. But we saw a good game, and as hockey fans, we're treated to a good hard game between both teams. Fans around us were nice and everything. It was a good game, no
Well,
issue.
and then you have pictures you took when you get your jerseys. You've got photo matches you took yourself.
Oh yeah, got a whole bunch. I was just snapping pictures as fast as I could of players, just snapping it off. So after the game, we left out of there, about died because Matt tried to cut over a lane and almost hit a car, but we're still alive. And then Friday we woke up and made our way to Manassas. We left at different times. I went to see my son, and then Matt left afterwards. We got to the hotel there where the expo was at, like 3:30, and roughly that time. And people were starting to show up. We ran into, I think, first person we walked in the door. I think the first person we saw was, I think, was Mike Hessick. Was the first person we saw when we walked in the
You
door.
mean Mike or Miles?
Yeah, Miles. That's my new name for him, Miles. And I think Larry P pulled in behind me, so I think he was right there.
It was funny how many people were all at one time. I don't know. We couldn't have planned it any better.
Right. I
John
think,
Mazuka was there, Emily and Ben.
yeah, Mark Alberts walked in shortly. Francis walked in. So yeah, like a big group of us were checking in at the same time. And this hotel that Francis had found, the Wyndham, they opened up the room, expo room, ballroom, whatever you want to call it. And so we went in there and we got to go in there early, maybe 4:30, and start like moving tables around, and people started claiming their spots or whatever. And then Meg Pike came down. She makes the name tags. So she came down, started setting up, and then a bunch of us went to dinner over to Longhorn's Steakhouse. No, not Longhorn's. Logan's.
Logan's?
Logan Steakhouse. So we
Funny
went down.
enough, I just ate that here Saturday night.
Yeah, we went down there. We had made reservations. I didn't need them, but we made reservations anyways. And then, as Matt, I think Matt started off to saying, man, it was a good time. Let me see. We had Meg and Joe Pike were there. Matt, Mike Hessick, John and Anna, myself, George Griffin, his son, and was there somebody else sitting next to Mike?
No, I don't think so.
No. And then a little bit afterwards, some other people walked in. Hoagie walked in. Who was it? Hoagie, Hunter, Derek.
Daniel James.
Yeah, Daniel
it was
James,
like
Donald.
half the expo was there.
Yeah, like we could have started our own little mini expo at their place. And we were there probably like 2 hours. And I mean, we were shooting the shit and we were busting balls, man. We were just going at it. And it was a great conversation with everybody, sharing information, at people asking questions, and some good discussions. And the waiter was great. The guy understood. He didn't rush us or nothing like that. He knew we were just gonna hang out. And then we went back. John and I had to go to Walmart. I mean, that was an experience. We both almost got ran over in the Walmart parking lot. Got cut off twice. But I forgot hangers, so I had to go buy hangers. And I bought some water for the next day.
Real quick, that the hangers reminds me of when we did Chicago.
Yeah, we're running around.
Frozen 4. My wife went down the street there was an Old Navy down the street and talked them into giving us, I think, like 150 hangers.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
because a bunch of people had forgotten them.
Yeah, same thing. So I bought a which I can always use. We can always jersey collectors. We can always use hangers.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So, but that, I mean, John and I were that's where I took the picture of John in a car seat because John is small. So
small.
we were messing around in Walmart. Anna was, of course, looking at us like we were idiots, but that's what women do to us boys.
But that's like what the expo is like.
Right. So we were having
going
a good
back
time.
to being a kid and enjoying like your friends, and you don't get to see these people, but like maybe like twice, 3 times a year, and it's hard to like let that not frustration, but that friendship just be like, oh hey, how you doing?
Yeah, we were lapped. So we made our way back to the hotel, and everyone was in the ballroom. They let us use the room that night. And Matt was in there, man, Milt was in there, and Hoagie and Derek, and I think Bert showed up. Was Ben? I think Ben and Emily were in there.
There's a ton of people in there.
Mike was in there. George was in there. Yeah, there's a bunch. And the bourbon was flowing. There was beers. There was Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, that was the weird one.
And yeah, no one really put anything out. I think some people had a couple jerseys out, but most people just put their mannequins up. That's really all that was up.
Yeah, just wanted to save it for the next day because you don't want to ruin, like, let's show everything tonight, because the show itself is so important. Right. So you start, shooting a slush. Oh, did you bring anything to trade, or just having good times? And I think it was, what is it, like 11:30. Dan and Mike Hessick are like, oh, I'm going to bed, and I was like, yeah, I should probably go too. And next thing you know, Hoagie's little corner over there where they're all chatting. They're like, hey, we're ordering pizza. And I'm like, it's midnight. Don't we need to get in bed? I mean, I'm not 80 years old and need to, like, get my butterscotch pudding on and go to bed. But holy shit.
Yeah, the same old.
Hey, anytime's a good time for pizza, though.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it's easy, you know. So, yeah, I wasn't there for the pizza. I knew I was gonna get up early. Mike Hessick and I agreed. We're like, hey, let's get up. We both are early risers, so we were like, hey, let's get up and have breakfast. So I got up early with Mike and had breakfast with Mike. There's a couple other people that came in there for breakfast, but it wasn't a big crowd for breakfast. Mike and I just shot the shit for, I don't know, maybe an hour. And then more people are getting up, like 8 o'clock time frame. More people are up. Some people are coming in just grabbing a cup of coffee. You know, you see some people that didn't. There wasn't. I think most people stayed at the hotel, but there might have been a couple that didn't. And then you went to the room, and people are starting to bring their bags in, and then you get all the welcomes. Then you get everybody's walking. They're putting their bag down. They're stopping what they're doing. They're going over, shaking hands, you know, and welcoming people there, and getting all set up, and everybody's laughing and, you know, getting ready to go. And everybody's doing it at different speeds, you know, depending on what they got to do.
yeah, it's funny to see like what effort it takes for certain displays to get there, because Casey eventually got there. But
Oh yeah,
you know, I before Casey even got there, I popped in the room, and John and Anna were there, and John comes over and goes, "Do you know who toilet papered my room last night?" And I was like, I know I did it before I went to bed, but I was like, I don't know who did it. As I was doing it, I looked up at the ceiling to the right, and I was like, oh shit, there's a camera capturing me toilet paper in his door. Nobody said anything, but that's the fun stuff you do. And it was like I have put maybe like not even an eighth of the roll of toilet paper on his door. But that's the fun things you do and goofing around like that. But yeah, Casey got there, and Casey had a tremendously unique display with his mannequins, and the mannequins had pins in them, and it was really neat to see that and hang out with Casey. Sometimes I think he gets like a bad rap in the hobby. If you ever have a Penguins jersey or want to know something, the level of meticulous, I don't know, photographic history that he has and knowledge that he has is tremendous. And if you ever need something authenticated that's Penguins, I cannot think of a better source to have that done with, because he will go through it very thorough. I think Dan had a jersey done, and he was not anything but anything but just astounded by how great a job he did.
yeah. So we had Casey next to us, and he had 5 Marios Lemaire. And if you're a Penguins fan, I just stood there for a few minutes going, I can't believe I'm looking at these Marios. They were, I mean, just gorgeous. And Casey weren't willing to talk about it. And then right next to Casey was Mike Hessick, and he comes out with a Steve Yzerman and a Nicholas Lindstrom jersey. You're like, so in our little corner over there, we had, you know, we had three of the greatest players ever play the game. And then you turn around, and across here comes Jeff Thompson in to build this display. I don't know where he built this, like, I don't know what it was. It was a rack and a black screen, like maybe a photo type thing he found. And he sets up this Ovechkin display, these gigantic 16 by 20s and 4 Ovechkin jerseys. And it fits, you know. I mean, obviously with what's going on now, the chase, it fit in this show, you know. And of course, everybody, if you know the Capitals, you know Jeff's a great Capitals collector and historian of the Caps. And then right next to him is Milt, and Milt's got a Gretzky laying on the table. Yeah, like, are you kidding me? So there was some, and then, you know, Barry brought Dave got sick, so Barry came instead of Dave. He brought 3 Ovechkins for sale. There was a lot of high-end caps. So Derek Whitwire had a couple high-end caps. Bert had some like newer stuff, but they were the 50th anniversary pack. He had some really cool stuff. But there was a lot of cool jerseys there. When you walk around, it's even hard to remember all of them. And I mean, right next to us, like I said, right there was the Mario Lemieux, you know, and for me that was a big thing because obviously a Penguins fan, wanting to see those. So
There's probably like over $1.5 million in the room if you were to like sell the jerseys.
Easy.
And the funny thing was, you know, during the show, some random guy like walked in the room and went up to Barry He goes, huh, what are these? Oh, they're Ovechkin game worn jerseys. And guy's like, huh, how much are they? And I think it was, I don't want to like say the price because I don't know it for a fact.
Right.
Barry told him the price, and the guy goes, I'll take one. Just a random person.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I would love to have that problem.
And he
like
sold him the stand and everything. Said take the stand, take the the name card, the name thing he had. Guy got it all, man. Stand and everything.
Wow.
So Barry went down from 3 down to 2. Yeah, there was
But
like
you know what? That's crazy that just and maybe that's, I say not an undercover, but maybe more an underground collector and heard about it or whatnot. But to just basically appear out of nowhere and go, yep, I'll take that one. See ya, and leave.
Well, Nova gets decent foot traffic, being in that area.
It always does. It doesn't matter where the event is. It's like the zombie apocalypse. They will find you. I don't know how it works out. They just wander in.
Yeah, they started probably close to 10 o'clock. The foot traffic came in, and that the foot traffic was pretty steady till probably 1:30, maybe.
Yeah,
Then
1:30
it petered off a little bit. There might have been a few stragglers, but there's plenty wives, kids, husbands. There was all kinds of people walking around, looking at the jerseys and stuff like that. And I mean, it was. Uh, there's a couple people there selling. One guy was selling cars. One guy had, Francis lets one guy come in and sells cars. One guy sells other things like figurines and stuff like that. But the jerseys were there, just were amazing what the people brought, and the history and what goes into it. And then everybody just, you can make lap after lap, and every time you made another lap, you'd find something new to look at or something to talk around. And like I said, I
jersey
tried.
to offer to trade.
Right, I tried. I try to talk to everybody, and it is damn hard. It is hard to get around and shake everybody's hand. I mean, kudos to Francis for making. I think Francis shakes everybody's hand. He makes a point to do that, and that's one of his great characteristics. I know Wade did it at his show. I know George is at his show. But it's hard. If you're just a guy there, it's hard to try to get, because you have people that you've known and you want to talk to them, and you want to, not only do you talk about Jersey, but you want to talk to them about their families. You want to talk to them about, just things that you just in general. And so next thing you know, you're like, oh crap, it's almost time to go. So, but there was a lot of good stuff there, a lot of good laughs and everything like that, for the show. So, like we always say, I encourage people to go to the shows. Every time I hear about one, they're a little different, and that's good. They shouldn't all be the same. Wade's is a little different. I've been fortunate enough to go to Wade's. He does his a little different, which makes it his. George is a little different. When you listen to the stories of, Michael Runlin did the LA one, and now Mellie's going to take that over. I'm sure she's going to put her own spin on it and try to probably make it a little bit like hers, like how she envisions it. She's getting help too from another guy. The Winnipeg one, the Chicago one we went to, Doc, they all are a little different. And when you put them on, which makes them cool because they're not all the same, and not all, you have different stories and different things that are going on. But the main central theme is the jerseys, the history, and then the camaraderie, and start connecting faces to people. And and if you make a trade or make a sale or buy a jersey, that just kind of goes secondary with it. Some people are, they're really after to do it. They really want to change their collection over, and some are just, if it happens, it happens. They're just more than happy to walk around and shake hands and see what's going on. So, we make it a 3-day event. I think it's what Matt and I made it. 3-day event to pack in as much as we could.
I already missed it. I wish we could do another one like this weekend. It was that much fun. And, certain people, I won't name any names, but maybe somebody that might have ties to the Hampton 8 facilities was like looking for Blues jerseys. He's like, can you let me know if you've seen any cool Blues jerseys? And I waded through jerseys looking for Blues stuff for this collector. I found some things, and unfortunately it didn't work out, but that's part of the fun, helping out friends and looking out for each other, and like, hey, did you know about this? Oh, is that available? No, it's not really, but what about that? Oh, it's $6,500. Well, maybe I can't afford that today. But just hanging out, and even if you're just, hey, what are you doing next weekend? Are you having some fun, or are you going to amusement park? Are you going to play arcade games. What are you doing? Like, and just hanging out with people that share the same passion you have. It may not be for the same team or players or whatnot, but there's always something to talk about. And you always end up leaving going, I wish it was longer, but glad it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can always learn something at an expo too. I think you can always learn something either about somebody, or you can learn something about a jersey or a team or what's going on. And that's always the fun part too, is when you can leave the expo going, yeah, I had fun and I learned some stuff. I bought something, traded something, but I got to shake some hands and about people that really, really care about this hobby. And there's a lot of people that truly care about this hobby. They really want to preserve the history. They really liked the what goes into the jersey, and no matter what you collect. I don't think anybody, it's not about, it has not, I don't think there's no monetary value on it. I just think it's what you collect. And if you have a story that goes with it, like I get these because I go to these games, or I know this person, or I was involved in this league in some way. And, just so it doesn't matter what you collect as the stuff, as long as you have the story that goes with it and you show the passion to get the jerseys and then, display the jerseys or talk about the jerseys. I think that's what makes the expos great. And yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to live where I get to go to two expos every year. I'm always trying to get to Meigray. I wish there was more. I like reading about them. I like hearing about them when you get them on, Doc. When people talk about them, you like hearing about what people did and how they approach the weekend and everything. But Matt, like I said, Matt and I just try to make it instead of just. I mean, I could drive up and drive back in one day, but I'm not thinking that'd be really fun to do. And if I'm gonna try to make a weekend out of it and enjoy the entire weekend, and make it an event. So that's what we do. That's what we've done the last couple of years, seeing games, watching our jerseys on the ice.
And that's kind of what we did too, is with Chicago when we did that one a number of years ago, Dan, and then you came a couple of years ago to Wade's. That's the only. I mean, we've talked plenty, but that was the first time in what was that 7 years between the two, 8 years between the two, something like that.
I think 18 was when we went to Chicago.
Yeah. So,
and then yeah, I went to Wade's in 23. And like I said, I've been fortunate to see a couple different ones, not just the same two. And what they do and how they do it differently, and to see the guys that promote the shows, how much passion they have in it, trying to put into the show, and then we come there as collectors, as friends. You're doing everything you can to help out. They're Francis is going around thanking everybody, and you're like, what can I do to help? Well, how can we make this go off? And Wade did the same. You're like, how can I help you, Wade? How can I help you? How can I help you? George, when you're up there, can I help set up tables? Can I help do something? Because I think every collector there just wants it to go off and to enjoy the time. And, so each person, I should say, does their expo. And I will always say, try to get to one. If you can put one on in your area, try to put one on. And it doesn't have to, I believe Francis can probably correct us online. I believe he started out with 6 people 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now he sells his tables out in less than an hour.
Yep.
And he has no problem selling 45 tables, not easily. And same with George. So that's a good size bunch of jerseys. You can get a lot of jerseys on 45 tables. So to think where he's came and then other people follow along and kind of, I don't know if they follow the lead, but they said, oh, here's an idea, and they try to put it in their area and then say, because you got to go and maybe that's a show you can have one time, get the guys that do the shows on and say, they're only got so much, you're in this area and you got certain hotels and certain areas and who's going to come in. You can't do everything, and everybody's got to be a little different, and if you do something with it, that goes on with the game or with the expo, and not just, come to a hotel and sit in a hotel but you gotta get out. You gotta go to dinners. You gotta go to games. You gotta, there's got to be some events you can do to really tie it all together. Because sometimes you just need it. Like I said, we had a ball at the dinner. We had a ball, just busting balls, man. We were just ragging on each other like left and right, and that was probably some of the most fun I had at that expo was that dinner, just sitting there, and man, we busted Mike Hessig's ass so bad. He ate a salad, man. We're all eating steaks. That dude ate a salad. And we were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Man, he let him have it. We were like, "Welcome to the club, man. Welcome to the club." You
And
know,
Yeah.
and we've done. I mean, Wade and I have done the same thing. The what is it? The running gag for the October show that Friday before we end up at Applebee's every time.
yeah. We ended up
And
over
it's
that
of
apple.
all places because there's plenty of decent restaurants around there. We did it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and that's just been the go back place for
Oh.
Friday night. And then we sort out something else depending on game or not on Saturday. But yeah, it's we don't care where we are, but we're all just having a ball and yeah, sharing stories, showing photos, telling stupid jokes, whatever it is. And it's just by the time everything's done, it's exhausted, and then we get up first thing next morning and hit it hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a long 3 days, because Meigray's a 6 hour drive for me. So, but it's a good hard 3 days, should say, because you're going and you're doing things. And so you don't mind, you get your sleep when you get your sleep and you get going and get things set up and you keep moving and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was great. Another great show that Francis put on. Um, really, really helpful. Some great jerseys in there. I got to talk to Scott Lynn some because he does that podcast from Meigray.
Yep, Tales from the Warehouse,
Yep, talked to him some
another
about it.
fantastic podcast. They
Yep.
just had Barry and company on talking about
Oh, it's right.
the
Oh,
Ovechkin chase, and it's great to listen to.
yeah. I listened to that on the way the drive from
Yeah, we were both listening to it. We're gonna,
what a
hey, what'd you think of the podcast? Oh yeah, let me talk about this.
yeah,
It's that geeking out to this stuff.
yeah.
I feel
Um,
bad. I mean, do you guys have questions for us?
And actually, yeah, perfect timing. I was just going to get to it and actually start with you, Matt. What's the craziest jersey or craziest thing that you saw displayed or just blew your mind walking through there?
Uh, it's gonna sound very minor, but back in 2011, I think I went to my first Nova Expo, and Francis had a jersey that I've always wanted because I had been into the game and it was unique to that year. And it was an AHL jersey of Sandy Moger. And I got so many tickets when I was in college to Providence Bruins, and I had to stay at the first AHL All Star game, I forget, in like 50 years. Finally been returned to the AHL, and I wanted one of those jerseys for the longest time, and he had one, and for years now, 2011 till now, Francis is like, oh, I don't know if I could part with it. I don't know if I could deal with it. Oh, I got to talk to this guy because this guy John used to own it. Oh, I don't know if John wants to get. And every year I'd like, it's an inch closer. I'm an inch closer. This is the final. This is the year I finally got that jersey.
Nice. But I mean, that's important to you.
It is very important to me, and I love it. And thank you to Francis for hosting the event and having it. But it's hard to nail down one jersey. I mean, Casey's display, Mike Hessig's display, everybody had something neat to offer. And Joe, the Pikes, both of them have unique displays, and uh, he collects the 67 jerseys, only jerseys with the number 67 on it. And he and Dan had a deal going on it, and it's just neat to find out you only collect jerseys with the number 67. He actually has an Ottawa 67s jersey. It would have been cooler if it had 67 on the back, but I digress. But it's just neat to find out everyone's unique passion and what brings them to the game, and chit chat with them. I probably stuck my foot in the mouth. Barry, I'll take care of you. I talked to Barry Mizell and I said, hey, next time I see you, I'll get you a pecan pie. And his eyes lit up. I like your pecan pies, Matt. So I got to make a pecan pie for Barry. That's another story off the topic, but so many great jerseys to see. And I feel bad if I missed somebody on talking about this or that. I apologize. I'll let Dan say one of his.
I mean, obviously Casey's Mario collection being was there as a highlight. Mike Hessick as Eiserman, because I grew up in Michigan. I watched, Eisman obviously play a lot. That's what we had there. We didn't have cable back in those days. I'm not an Ovechkin fan at all, as most people know, but I thought it was pretty cool, that display. I think that might have been the first time I saw a Gretzky jersey that was there.
Did
But
you touch it? I didn't even ask.
No, I didn't touch it. I took a picture of it. I like, man, that's pretty cool, because it was
Good. It
old.
would have been tainted if you touched it. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
know. I just thought it was interesting. I don't think there was one jersey that just stood out. Like, I just could stand there and man, there was a lot of nice jerseys there. No, I don't think there's one that would, like, oh man, I wish I could go home with that one. There's a lot of money in that room. A lot of people, some people have saved a long time or had a way to get their jerseys. So there's I enjoyed meeting some new people though. I had never met Casey before. That was nice. I think another kid was there. What's his name? Josh. Josh was the first. He's been at some expos, but this is the first time he got a table. So he collects Hawks jerseys. So
we didn't even talk about Sonny. Sonny was cool to talk to.
Yep, Sonny was there. He did deal. Jeff was there, but he wasn't there because he doesn't work for Meigray anymore. He went and got a different job, so he's there just as a
Jeffrey Spade. Just so to clarify, right?
Yeah, Jeffrey Spade was there. So that was he was there, but he was in a different capacity. He was there just hanging out as one of the peeps there doing that. For you guys, Mark Alberts brought the Blues enforcers. His table is full of Blues jerseys. Barrick, I think his thing is Drop the Gloves on Flickr, I believe, if I'm correct. He collects fighters that are old. They're not the NHL fighters, like the guys, like the minor leagues, like these old guys that never made it, and they're just some beat up jerseys, man. His jerseys are just tore up because they're, obviously they're down there and they fight more and stuff like that. They don't have, the customs that the NHL does and everything like that. So, yeah, I probably would say the overall favorite though was finally seeing some Mario Lemieux up close. That for me probably was my favorite. And Casey and I did talk Penguins, and stuff like that. We have a lot in common when it comes to Penguins, what we think should be going on. But it was good. It was a little good. It was an overall good show.
Craziest thing that happened other than Matt getting pulled over and the cop confusing the vehicle he had? Any other like crazy story on the floor or just something that caught everybody off guard?
Did somebody? Well, they sang "Happy Birthday" to Francis again, but we do that every year.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, I guess, sorry, side note, the other crazy thing, and I'll try and link to it once this is published, is the Capitals.
Yes.
Showing stuff of the game during intermission.
Yeah, they came in. They didn't make it far in, but somebody, I think it was Scott Lynn, took it on his phone or whatever from the TV, and so they were talking interview, and they came in, and from the video they showed, they only came into right in the front where Derek Whitwire was at and Meigray was at. They just came in right there, and I don't think they made it back to where the other side of the room. I don't recall them coming around
where all the ballers were.
Yeah. The guys that do the ugly thirds, they were there walking around doing some interviews and doing some videos. I'm sure those videos are on YouTube now. But yeah, that was pretty cool to see that they put on some news or whatever or something.
Well, it was the intermission of the Caps game.
Yeah,
and one of the, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know any of the Caps announcers. One of the guys I know is a former player, and they mentioned him.
Yep. Carl Alsman, yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah. And of course, there must have been.
There was some All-Star Bears jersey that sold.
Yeah, there's probably, there's some Bears in there. There's probably a couple of Caps there. If he'd have came, he'd have saw his jerseys, they were there. So that was pretty cool. That was there. So, yeah, I didn't see the people, though. I didn't see them come back to where I was at or around.
That was pretty cool.
That's something we need to try and talk, sweet talk. If the Blues are actually, I guess, home or away, they could still do it. Show up next October.
That'd be really cool, Wade.
And show it during intermission or something.
And we can work on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from what I've seen, the players that came last year, there was Adam Oates was there, and then Georgia's had Chris Therian and what was the other flyer guy he had? But I think some of them are just either they think we're nuts or they just can't believe what we do, and some people have their jerseys, you know. I think when you meet a player, I think in general, I think most, I mean, there's probably some out there that don't care. I imagine, but I think in general, most players are probably like, "Wow, you have my jersey," you know. I think the players are different. I mean, I know some players collect their jerseys, but I think players are more into sticks. That's my opinion.
Well, we know Ovechkin is.
Yeah, well, Ovechkin's taking everything
We've seen
now.
those pictures.
Ovechkin's taking everything now with his goal chase. He's taking it all. But we all heard the tales from the warehouse. You know, I think the other night he scored. I was happened to watch the game. He scored. I'm like, oh, there went that jersey. No one's getting
Yep.
that one. So yeah, I just encourage everybody to go to an expo if they can, and if you're in an area that can put one on, try to organize one. You know,
I
and
mean, work on if you're in an area with some other people and it's a little bit of distance, carpool, do things like that. If one person doesn't want to drive, I mean, there's enough spread out different places. Get to one, and if even if you can get to one, my plan is eventually to get out to Nova. Is get one outside of your area. Go check out some other ones, or if I can get out to San Jose at some point and see the different things because I mean, yeah, even at Wade's and that is we get Blackhawks. We do have a mix of stuff, but going to other places and getting to see like the Marios and things like that. It's so cool to just be able to lay your hands on or look at teams you don't normally see.
yeah, yeah, of course, when you out on the East Coast, you get a lot of Capitals, Devils, Flyers. You know, you're going to get a lot of those jerseys around. But yeah, there's great players in those organizations that you watch many times. You know, and when I went to St. Louis, there was just all kinds of blue stuff. People are there. They tend to collect kind of the local stuff, you know. That's not uncommon. You know, I'm sure when they're out the LA one that just happened, they probably had a lot of LA Kings and stuff out there, you know, with all that people out there and everything, you know. So
So you guys both said you pre-ordered Devils jerseys. Have you got your hands on any Fanatics jerseys yet, or
yeah,
will these be your first?
I've
Yes.
got two. So I got one. I got a Columbus Blue Jacket one, Danforth from a game that the Capitals played at home versus the Blue Jackets back in November. And then my family and I we went to Vegas and I walked around and the guy that's in charge of the jersey program was selling the jerseys at the game. They weren't really anything great. I got his business card and made a call to him and he hooked me up with the gold jersey that the Vegas wore that night. So I've got two actual and I'm waiting for two Devils. I'm waiting for a white Devils and a red Devils.
What do you think of them compared to
Uh, they're
Adidas?
they're heavier than the Adidas jerseys, I would say. But this was actually a conversation at dinner when we were there. We were there Friday night at dinner. What was your favorite jersey? Some people like, and I'm an Adidas person. I know there's some other ones, the starter ones and stuff like that, but I like the Adidas jerseys. So it's the Fanatics ones are a little. They're nice, and they're so far they seem to be showing some pretty good wear and stuff. The people that have gotten them and posted them and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm an Adidas person still, so it's gonna take maybe some time to grow on me, but they're not bad. I don't, their jersey just like when they put the advertisement on, people were freaking out. I was like, it's a jersey, we're still gonna buy them, you know. I mean, people still gonna get them.
Yeah, I don't believe sales dropped off much. Matt, have you got any in your hands yet?
Dan and I went to a earlier in the season a Capitals game, and I got a Capitals with the what is it the 50th patch, and I'm torn. I'm kind of in the middle on it. It is a heavier jersey, and I have like 9 repairs on it. I don't know. It's too soon to tell. I do like that it is heavier, but I'm a wear guy. Like if I could go back to Ultrafill and
I think these are wearing closer to that than the Adidas were.
I do
Especially in
agree
the
with that.
arms.
Yes.
Wade, you've got some decent repairs with yours, and
I think these compare to the Ultrafill very well. I think they're better than the Reebok, and I like Dan said, I really loved the Adidas stuff, but I do think these are early on showing better signs of collecting wear.
Yeah. They're some of them are showing wear. That is for sure. That was pretty. That was pretty. No one really liked Reebok. Was not in the top of people's favorites.
Yeah,
and it's hard to say if Fanatics is yet because not everybody has a Fanatics jersey yet. Nobody has. Some people are still waiting for some. Some people are hesitant to buy one yet. So you're talking about obviously the older jerseys through Reebok up through Adidas. But yeah, Reebok's not one that people like too much. So the people either like the old jerseys that are still like the Adidas, but we'll see in the Fanatics ones as the season ends and people start getting all their jerseys. I'm sure more stories will come out, and there'll be more pictures of wear and what people thought of the jerseys and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we'll definitely do a post season look back at that because I may even have to go back and play our tapes when we've talked about when the early Fanatics announcements and concerns and things and kind of compare to where everybody feels now. But yeah, it is surprising that some fans don't have theirs at all yet. And I know it's just how the teams are running their programs and things.
Yeah, they gotta wait. The Devils are notorious for waiting till the set 3 comes in before they release set 1. They all do it their own way. So. But usually by the end of the season, people start getting their jerseys and stuff like that. So I'm sure this Stanley Cup final season through the summer is going to be filled with a bunch of jerseys that people pre-ordered and auctions, the Blues auctions and the Avalanche auctions and all that stuff that go on when they start having them.
So Matt, we'll start with you. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I had an interesting experience yesterday. Many people know I used to have a culinary job, and then I moved once COVID hit to delivering mail. I walked into one of my new businesses, and lady's like, "Where were you? We weren't here for like a week." It's like, "Oh, I took vacation." She goes, "You go to any place cool?" And I said, "Went to a hockey game, and I kind of collect game worn jerseys." And she leans forward and she goes, "Like from Meigray?" And I'm like, "How's this lady, random lady? How's she know about it?" And I go, "Yeah, how do you know about Meigray?" She goes, "I know all about Meigray and Barry. I think his real name is Bernard Meisel." And I said, "Yeah, that's it, Bernard. You should call him. Call Bernard up on the phone." So Denise at 380 Poplar Church, or 350 Poplar Church Road. I said your name on air. Hopefully you become a listener to this podcast. But how random of an experience is that to just, and she's a collector. She has 400 jerseys. I got to start talking to her, see if she has any Blues or McKenna's, any of the crappy Penguin jerseys.
Yeah.
Who knows? She might have something I like.
400 jerseys. Oh my God.
You can start making jersey deals on your route. That's insane.
So now I have a question. Have you delivered like boxes that would look like what we ship jerseys into her?
No, she's a business. She's the receptionist there.
Oh, so she okay? So you don't deliver to her house? You don't get her?
No, I don't deliver to her house. But she's a Hershey Bears season ticket holder for 30 years.
Wow, and collects jerseys.
And she collects game worn jerseys. I was blown away when she said
Meigray. Does she go to the Hershey show?
Never seen her before in my life.
Wow. Yeah, you got to get her the info for the Hershey.
Quite a small world, but I am on the lookout. I'm eager to see if there's anyone on my route that's going to get like a little Meigray box. You know the box, you know the size, and I'll be shaking it, making sure if jersey goes missing. I got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, we're all getting called in the court now.
Jesus, I can't believe I said that on the air.
Yeah.
Anything final from you, Dan?
I just all the people that went this weekend, just thank them, everybody that was there. And I know some people tried to get there and they couldn't make it, and that happens. You know, everybody's got family and work, and but yeah, all the people there, thanks for all the good time and everything. And like I said, if I miss shaking someone's hand, my apologies. That's never my intent, but it's tough. It is.
Missed you, Rob Clark. We missed you.
Yeah, missed a couple of guys that normally you see, but things come up with people. People got things they got to do. So I appreciate the people that came and brought their jerseys, and everything. I didn't have a crazy story. When I got back to work, the kids were like, "Where'd you go?" I wanted to say away from you, but I said, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, just forget it. We got to do this. Let's go. We got work to do." So, but it's a nice little break, with people, like-minded people that have the same passion as you have, and so it was a good weekend, good show, good weekend.
I hope we did a good justice for your show.
What's that, Matt?
I said I hope we did an okay justice for your show and trying to share stuff
phenomenal.
And not like boring or. I didn't want to come on here and be like, we went to the show, we saw jerseys, and we went home.
And yes, you could have described it that way, but no, it's funny to hear the side stories and the different things that happen and some of the unexpected stuff. But Wade, you should feel sad because they talked about missing all these people. They didn't mention you.
No, yeah.
We missed Wade. Of course, we missed Wade.
No, yeah. I mean, we have a group text chat, so I hear enough from these two idiots.
I'm sorry you couldn't reschedule your rectal exam.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, I'm really glad that they found a twin bedroom for you and Dan to share. I did have a question that Friday morning when you woke up and you guys, who woke up first? Who rolled over and said good morning? You or Dan?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
we must be in a different dream zone there, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, Dan said he was an early riser. I just figured, I didn't know if he woke you up or you woke him up. So,
I will say, getting the water to work in the one shower was like a nightmare.
Oh, jeez. No. I mean, great show. Great for you guys to come on. You guys are both veteran, awesome guys in the hobby and friends, and it's fun to have you guys share your experience. I always like to think that a lot of the stuff that we talk about, I try to bring to the show, suggestions and what have you. And, just thank you guys for being great stewards to our community.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of good.
Welcome. You're just equally good.
Well, and Dan, thank you a lot for taking the graphic and sending it off and having stickers made on the East Coast, and then 2, handing them out.
Yeah, really cool.
I handed out what I could, So
I've actually been doing a thing, Dan. Dan sent me some stickers over, different ones. I've got the logo for the Nova one, and then you did some for my St. Louis Expo, and Doc had recently gotten me some dirty laundry ones, and so I try to, when I find I keep a pile of them where I do my mail, and when I send stuff out, if I trade a jersey or sell a jersey or whatever with something, I try to throw a couple stickers in there, just to random people who are getting jerseys or doing jerseys, because I think it's a neat way to spread that part of the hobby. So I think the stickers are really neat. So I do spread them around, because I think it's neat to throw one of those or a couple of those in the packages.
Yeah, there'll be ones going all the way to New Zealand soon once we get everything all sorted out.
Yeah,
be mailing some down there.
So Rory, for a couple weeks ago, actually sent me a message this morning, and he sent a picture of a refrigerator with Dr. Pepper in it, and he said that New Zealand's ready for me. So I thought that was great. So Rory's a cool guy.
Yeah, lots of good people in this hobby,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of great relationships you can forge in this. If you're willing to open the door to that, and you have to be a good guy yourself or a good person and a steward to it. But it is amazing how you can connect with people. Sorry, the Blues just tied the game. Sorry.
Hey, yeah, we need. And one of the things that we didn't touch on here tonight, because I wanted to pull more stuff together, and I know we will next week, because I had 3 different people send me the price list and send me links to things, is the Detroit Red Wings outdoor game, their sales of their whole kit, the jerseys, the socks, the pants, multiple jerseys. And in some cases, and I tipped a little bit of this off last week, thanks to insider information that I had, and I think a few others did as well, was and I know it pissed them off when the list came out tonight, was some players kept their helmets, and I guess a few may have even kept their other jerseys because they weren't available. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of upset people, a lot of different things. So we'll talk pricing, we'll talk what was available, what wasn't. We'll kind of we'll see what the hobby brings this week with where they show up and how they show up, because holy cow.
Meigray had the photo shoot Blue Jackets ones.
And those are stunning.
Dude, I got to grab one of those, and I looked at Dave and said, this is a cool jersey.
Yeah.
Absolutely
beautiful.
The Blue Jackets did a fantastic job with that large cannon and then the crossed hockey sticks on the shoulder. And how they cut the sleeve. Yeah. The picture online you see doesn't do it justice. That jersey was absolutely again, Stadium Series, they kind of go be featured, but they did a great job. And I'm sure Detroit's was just as nice in person, but yeah, Columbus did a great job.
Yeah, if I hadn't just bought the Blues one and buying some other things, I'd have probably picked one up just because they look so good.
Yeah.
I so much more appreciate the outside the box that teams are doing with some of these. So
Blues just scored again. Sorry, got excited.
Hey, we'll take it. No, this is the kind of when we're doing podcasts when games are on, as we're getting close to the playoffs. I'm all expecting all this and all about it. Yeah. So, like I said, be watching next week, because we are definitely going to talk the Red Wings stuff, and I know other things will come up. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming on tonight and filling us in and spreading the good podcast word while you were out there. And I'm glad you had a ball and got to see Meigray stuff. That's one on my wish list of things to go do as well down the road. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the listeners, all the support we have, the great pictures shared from Nova and everything else. And I'm glad it went well, and I think everybody did seem to have a blast. Again, continue to give us follows, likes, all that kind of good stuff. If you want to come on, if you have things you want us to cover, whatever, please reach out to one of us and we will definitely get that done. Until next time, we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend, your time, and we'll see you soon.